God of the dead, and the God of the resurrection into eternal life, ruler, protector, and judge of the deceased. And my name is Osiris, or maybe Osiris, or that could be Osiris.
All the synths you heard in that demo track were coming from the Osiris. I think that's how you say it. And what I've done here is I've set up a little skiff where I've got 2 VCFs, 2 envelopes, 2 VCAs, you get the point. And that's because although it's a single digital wavetable oscillator, the sub is so flexible you can actually use it as a dual oscillator. And I'll get to that in a second, but what exactly is it? And that's probably easiest to explain with some very dodgy graphics. Imagine this is a wavetable and each of the lights is a different wave shape. The wave X knob does as you might expect. It moves through the 32 waves in this wavetable, but we've got 32 wavetables. So it works just like a matrix. The wave X knob picks where you are in the X direction and the wave Y knob picks where you are in the Y direction. So if they're both centrally set at the top, we're using the central wave. If they're both turned anti-clockwise, we're using the first wave. And if they're both turned fully clockwise, we're using the last wave. And what's really clever about that is if you think of it as a matrix, you want to make sure that each of the waves that are next to each other aren't radically different. And by modulating through Y, you're moving through the different wavetables. Although that's not really how you should look at this. I think you look at these wavetables as a matrix of 1,024 waves. And if you imagine them all on a big chart, they'd be slightly different to each other, but no massive radical changes. And that's the really cool thing about this. All running at 96 kilohertz, so no aliasing. So what I was doing there was running through wavetable on the X direction and then moving through them in the Y direction, and you'll hear it's really nice and smooth. And you can sync those waves with this here. And that's not syncing them in the sense of pitch sync, because obviously they're the same pitch. It just syncs them so they're locked together. Although my little visualizer here isn't coping well with some of them. So that's wave bank A. We've got wave bank B, C, and D as well. So that's 4 banks, each with 1,024 waves. So that's 4,096 waves here in total. And they're all really usable, all put together really well. There's also a little SD card slot here. It doesn't come with the SD card, but you can make your own wavetables. There's an editor for it. I think it's called Osiris Edit. It's free, but it's for the Mac. I've not used it yet. My Mac's on 10.14. It needs to be on 10.15 or 10.15. I've just got to upgrade my Mac to have a play with it, but I will definitely be having a little play with that. But there's plenty to be getting on with in the meantime. So that's the bi-fidelity trademarked aspect of it. It's got loads of other things in here as well though. So obviously we've got pitch, but you can hear there it's quantizing. And now it's not, but I'll leave it on quantized for now. We've got fine tune as well. Let's take that off. So all the tuning you need really, it's really nice that it's got quantize on here. Then we've got a sub oscillator, and this is the really cool bit. I've been playing just the main oscillator for now. I'm using this Arturia Keystep Pro, and I'll go into channel 2. Now that's the sub oscillator. And that's got various wave shapes. You can go from a square smoothly to a sine, smoothly over to a triangle, and then we can smoothly over to whatever this wavetable is on the main oscillator. So now we're playing an octave below the main oscillator, and now we're playing 2 octaves below. So you can't use that effectively as a second oscillator because it's got its own output, and here it's going through its own filter, being controlled by its own envelope. So having that separate out's brilliant. It means that you can't actually play 2 things at the same time, just like in that intro track. So we've got a wavetable matrix. We've also got this independent sub. What else have we got here? Because it doesn't just stop there. We've got this timbre mode knob. If we bring it back to something like a simple sawtooth. Just realised I've had the filter on through that intro bit. So in reality, it's a little bit brighter. It wasn't cut off too far, but. So let's go through these timbre modes, shall we? In the first one, it gives you a second voice. And that goes up to an octave above. And you'll notice there that I'm playing the sub with the right hand, so the sub, I keep on calling it a sub. This could almost be called oscillator too, because it's playing a few octaves higher. So up here is the sub. Down here is the main one. So you can get 3-note chords from it. Then what have we got over here? We've got bend. And this thins out the wave. Let's put it on a square, it might be easier to see. So there we're getting basically pulse width modulation. And of course, this is modulatable via the CV inputs. Then we've got wave folding. This poor little visualizer is having difficulty showing you exactly what it's doing. Then we've got one called sync, which sort of emulates sync. And you can modulate between these timbre modes. It does blend between them. For all sorts of crazy madness. Noise is next. And then we move to 8 different FM modes. The first one's phase modulation. That uses the same wave on itself. Just some really fat things you can get from this. Let's knock that down an octave. And then we've got FM ratios from 1 to 8 as well. So maybe you're beginning to see how flexible this can be. All those dirty, disgusting FM tones, really nice, lush sync sounds, plus the bi-timbre mode. It's not bi-timbre, is it? It calls itself unison this, but it's 2 notes at a time. Plus you've got the sub oscillator. What else have we got here? We've got this thing called fidelity. So let's get it back onto a simple sawtooth. And this is inspired by a Commodore 64, I think. You can hear there a bit of digital noise creeping in. To all sorts of horrible, gritty digital noise. So that sounds a bit like bit reduction, but it isn't. Or it is a little bit with something else. So loads of opportunity for sonic destruction, plus what else have we got on this? Well, it's really clever in that you don't actually need an envelope. I've had this knob here on drone throughout, but if I take the envelope out of the equation, this is now just feeding straight into my interface. And set up the trigger from the KeyStep Pro as well. That's just the main oscillator. Just the volume. And then we can change the mix and bring in the sub oscillator. And that's completely out of tune because it's playing the whatever I played earlier. Let's just take the pitch CV out of that. And after all that sonic destruction with that fidelity knob, this sounds really super clean. Should we try that with an arpeggiator? Well, I've just been playing with that for about 20 minutes and didn't realise the camera has run out of battery. There's so many nice tones. I was wondering which tones should I save for the video, trying to remember which were the nice bits in there. And you'll have seen whatever I played before the battery ran out, but there's loads and loads of little things in here. It's absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. So this has made a really nice little 2 oscillator skiff with just 1 oscillator. I've had loads and loads of fun playing with this, and the demo track I played at the start, I'll play for full in a minute. I've also released that on another video you might have already seen, plus the one that follows it, but I just thought I'd squeeze them all into the one video so you don't have to go around searching for them as well. Well, I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere, and if it was, please think about subscribing, ring the bell, share, join me on Patreon, all that sort of stuff, help support the channel, and I will see you next time. Thank you.